Oh, finally I found it. Hello? Hello? Oh, there you are. Hi, Frederick. Hello.
Hi, Dan.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Welcome, finally.
What's this all about? I see about 20 cars lined up here.
Something called NXT Gen Cup. Maybe you've heard about it.
Yeah, no, can you explain a bit more?
No.
Hi everyone, it's time for a warehouse walk. This is where the NXT Gen Cup cars are stored when we are not on a racing weekends, where we service all of our cars. And this is where Frederick spends most of his time when he's not on a racing weekend. Frederick, it's a pleasure to be here. Tell us a bit more about this.
I mean, welcome, Dan. It's the first time you're here. It's obviously also where we built all the cars, we assembled them, where basically NXT Gen Cup started. We are in Gothenburg in Sweden on the west coast, and yeah, this is where we spend a lot of time. You're absolutely right. So
quite a walk from the Netherlands.
It's quite a walk. I mean, it's a shame you had to walk, but I'm glad you're here at least. No, so this is where we do the magic in between the races.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come from around at the Norris Ring together with the DTM. This is our biggest season yet. Of course, last season was a massive success. It being our first season, already did a round with the DTM. This season, 4 rounds with DTM. We started, of course, at the Norris Ring. We're going to the Nurburgring next, then Sachsenring, and then Hockenheim. A big calendar. Still the same amount of races, just in a little bit smaller of a schedule. Frederick, well, let's talk about Norris Ring, because that was a really good one. Let's be honest. It started with a bit of a moment in practice. Let's start where the chaos began. It was Siri Högfeldt together with Victor Nielsen. They came together, lap 1 of practice, and that's our first red flag of the season. I have to say, I was standing on the pit wall, had no clue, of course, had no live feed what was going on. I was like, red flag? This can't be. We've never had a car stopped on track, so I was like, this can't be the case. And it turned out that Victor Nielsen and Siri Högfeldt came together.
Yeah, I mean, it was the worst possible start for both of them, obviously. I think it was the first flying lap on the first practice session, and Siri braked a little bit too late in the first corner on the first flying lap, and sadly Victor was there and she hit him, T-boned him straight in the side, but it's what it is. Luckily both bounced back pretty good in the weekend.
Yes.
And the cars are getting back to pristine condition, and I mean, we have to be honest as well. It's junior drivers. Obviously, Siri and Victor both have some experience racing last year, but it's also a platform where you have to make mistakes sometimes to learn. You shouldn't do stupid mistakes, but this was one of those things, you know, cold tires. We were also the first session on track on a street circuit, so normally the grip is extremely bad. So it was a few things that caught Siri out, and it's what it is. We repair it, we move on. It
took them, I think, the best part of 2 hours until they got a whole front of the car replaced. This is, I think, a record time that they did it in. Of course, we had this last season, the last round at Montour Park. Linus's car completely destroyed. That took the best part of 2 hours as well. So these mechanics know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we have a good group of people, and to get the cars out is sort of that's what we do. It's our job. So we should walk. It's a walk.
We are walking.
So welcome in. Obviously, we have all the cars. Here's our beautiful test car, chassis number 1, where we developed the whole concept, did all the testing. So nice to have that. We have an old combustion engine Mini as well.
Looks very familiar to what we're running now.
It's sort of the same. It's from the early 2000s, from the Mini Challenge in Germany. So we might have taken some inspiration from that, of course.
Well, you said bouncing back, and bouncing back is something that Victor Nielsen did really well. Won 2 races actually, even after that crash. Luckily for him, didn't have to miss any sessions. Siri did. They both bounced back. I think Siri found some speed throughout the weekend. Of course, a difficult sessions for her, finding her speed. But Victor Nielsen, we have to talk about him. P2 in the championship right now. 2 race victories already. Performed last season as well, but I think you can really see that he's matured coming into this season.
I mean, definitely, he did a stellar job, and I think he won with quite a big gap in the last race. So he was very strong. Obviously, the first practice of the year, being caught out on the first lap, you don't get the chance to do that session, puts you off the schedule a little bit. So he had to fight back the whole weekend basically, but he did it really good. And like you said, second in the championship. 2 victories. He's this will boost his confidence, I would say, going forward. It was 3 guys fighting in the top, 4 guys with Enzo as well, fighting in the top in all of the races basically, and Victor is definitely one of them, fighting for the championship.
Also, one of the best overtakes, in my opinion, of the weekend. Sending it on Lucas Stiefhagen, race number 4, lap 2. Have a look at it. You can all find it on YouTube. Absolutely sent it up the inside. It was a good old little stamp and sent it. Came from way back. Personally, my favorite overtake of the weekend. What about you?
I mean, you and I looked at it just previously today, and I mean, it was really good. It was one of those overtakes that was really important for him to do. You know, he was second. He had Alexander Gustafsson in front of him. He had Stiefhagen chasing him in the bum.
Yes.
And he needed to overtake, and he did it. He did everything he had to. It was extremely late. He surprised Alexander a little bit, I think. It was, as you said, lap 2 early in the race, and this gave him the chance to pull away, create a gap, and then he could control the race. So that was could have been a championship-winning move in the end.
There we go. Lucas Stiefhagen is right behind him in the championship, so that already is a rivalry between those two brewing. The one that we haven't touched in the top 3, his car is right there, number 24, Kelvin.
Let's walk a bit more.
De Groot. He took his first victory also at the Norris Ring. Looked confident at testing already early on in the season. Top 7 of the 8 sessions, so we knew that he was going to be quick coming into the season. But he wasn't only quick, he was consistent as well. Lowest finish of 2nd. Finished on the podium in all 3 races. I mean, that's some stellar work.
It's really good, extremely good. We saw in Misano when we were testing in the beginning of the year that he was extremely quick. And like you say, he did a good job. But you can also see from the points, you also need to win races to get those extra points. And obviously being consistent is important, which he was. He had a victory, so he deserves to be in the front. He was also very stable in the races, didn't risk anything unnecessarily in the traffic with reverse grids, compared to Stiefhagen, who sadly made a big mistake in the last race. He did a good job. And also, talking to Daniel, our technical manager, I think his car is basically the only one, together with 2 others, with no damage at all, not a scratch. So that's also important, you know, to get the car back in one piece.
And this is quite impressive if you see how many times, twice he had to make his way back through the field. So that's quite impressive. He was also smart in using push to pass. Used to push to pass.
That's your second best overtake, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. 2 push to passes he used. 1 to get past both drivers and then to pull away. This was very smart. He knew that there was going to be fighting behind him. Used that second push to pass to then get away. They started fighting behind him. That gap opened up, and that eventually gave him the position he finished in.
Yeah. No, it was really smart. I mean, that's what you need to do. You need to plan it. You can't just save it for the end of the race. You need to use it strategically in the traffic as well. So he mastered that.
He did something else, I guess, because what we've seen last season and this season as well is that usually drivers try to save it till the end of the race, because that's just the most tactical to do. If there's a safety car period, the field bunches up, you have used your push to pass, well, you're sitting duck on the straights if the others have 2 left. So that's just the smartest thing to do. But he risked it, and it paid out in the end. So I think that's really smart.
Very well, very well. 4th place, or 3rd place in the championship, Stiefhagen. We mentioned him, also consistent, just like de Groot and Nielsen. But in the last race, you know, in the top 3, fighting for the podium, obviously made a mistake and hit the barriers. And what actually happened is he accidentally pushed the emergency off button in the car when the car hit the wall. So the car was not damaged. I mean, more than some body work, but he could have continued. So that was unlucky, unfortunate. It's a lot of learning for him as well. So we have a big off button on top of the battery that you can easily reach from the steering wheel, and he accidentally hit it and turned the car off. So that's why he couldn't continue the race.
I think a good thing to see. We're just quickly going to walk over here. This is actually what happened. And we saw this a lot, Fredrik. These mirrors can take a hit, but look at this. It was a street track. These mirrors kept falling off all the time, not only for Lucas Stiefhagen, but for Graham Hofmans. I think he scraped 2 mirrors in that racing weekend. And really, Fredrik, have you really raced on a street track if you haven't scraped a mirror?
No, you need to bend the limits, and obviously scraping the mirror is a reasonable amount of bending the limits, but not more.
For sure.
So we have a few cars with some scratches. I mean, you can see Sophie Hoffman, obviously. She also did a little bit more than scratching the mirrors. She could continue the race, not an issue. The same with Philip Bartos, the same with Graham. I mean, the same with a lot of them.
Yes.
Chantal as well in the ABB car. She also felt the wall a little bit. So yeah, that's part of it. But looking at the damage, there's some parts lying here. So
Quite a lot of parts.
The guys are doing a good job repairing the cars at the moment. And I mean, just to show you a little bit of what we do between the weekends. So obviously Victor Nielsen driving the Varta car, being hit by Siri in the beginning of the race. So the whole quarter panel, left rear, needed to be changed. Not a big job. Just a few hours at the body workshop. And as you can see, it's repaired. We need some paint, we need some stickers. But in a few days, this will be back in pristine condition.
And that's important because, of course, he might not keep this car. We're going to do a raffle later on today as well. You can see that live on YouTube. The thing with that is you change chassis, and that's the great thing. You can never say, oh, my car is quicker. There might be a little bit in it. No, you change car all the time, and that means that everyone gets the same chances as well.
Exactly.
Looking forward then to the Nurburgring, because that's going to be an important one. Second round of the championship, a different format to what we had at the Norris Ring. Only 2 races there. We practice on Friday, Saturday as well, then qualifying, then a race, and then Sunday we do the same thing again. We race again.
Yes, sort of.
Sort of. Well, let's hope that at the Nurburgring, with the walls a little bit further away, there won't be as many scratches.
Yeah.
The field will still be as close. I mean, looking at last year at the Nurburgring, it has kind of its own microclimates. Do you think it's going to rain?
I mean, we never know with Nurburgring. Whatever happens, we are ready for it, and the drivers just have to adapt. That's how it is. But yeah, we normally, Nurburgring is for us supposed to be a standard weekend with practice qualifying in 2 races, but we've actually added a 3rd race. You don't know that yet, Dan.
Oh, okay.
So we have 3 races. Yes.
Oh, even more racing, even better, Frederick.
Yes, so we want to have a lot of driving time. So it's obviously it's a process. You need to do bulletins for the regulations, changing the format, but it's on the way, and we want to race as much as possible. We saw at Norris Ring that we can do 4 races. We did 8 sessions in total over 3 days, more than 4,000 kilometers in total. So it's quite impressive without any technical issues whatsoever. I turned 40 last week or 2 weeks ago, so I actually have a list now to remember things.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we did more than 4,000 kilometers, and we want to race as much as possible. So we're fighting to do more races. We will try to do the same at the end of the year at Hockenheim as well. And for Sachsenring, we have our 8 sessions and 4 races again. But Nurburgring, looking back at last year, it was a very wet weekend for us. We had rain. I think we had half a race dry or something like this.
Yeah, something like that.
It's what it is. It created some really good racing.
Indeed.
Some new winners and a lot of action, especially in the last chicane for 2 of our competitors this year with Victor Nielsen and Enzo Hammar.
Yes, indeed. I can still remember that like it was yesterday. What I can also still remember like it was yesterday was that Linus Granfors actually took a clean sweep at the Nurburgring. If there is a track where it is possible to do these things, it is definitely the Nurburgring. It's wide, you can overtake. I think it's going to provide with some great racing. Talking about push to pass then for the Nurburgring, we saw that last year it was mainly used on the front straight. Also mainly, they waited till the last 2 laps of the race, really. What do you think is going to happen this year?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe some adapt the Calvin de Groot approach, using it in the races, in your racecraft, or saving it for the end. A little bit NASCAR style, doing the late lunch at the end of the race, but we'll see. It's also a track that promotes a lot of slipstream, so they can use both slipstream to overtake and the push to pass. So let's see. It was new for a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers never used it before, so let's see how they can adapt. We need to go back though to Norris Ring a little bit, if that's okay. We should move a little bit, so we change the scenery. It's a long workshop, so Paul Marcus, he has to walk a lot now, our cameraman. Linus Stjernelund,
yes, indeed, in
the STFG car, coming from sim racing. I think he's the driver with the least amount of experience we've ever had in a Next Gen Cup car. So he's done sim racing. It was the first time driving anything for him at the Norris Ring. At the Norris Ring, but also in racing. So he's done sim racing. and he's done 2 races with his father in a Renault in some endurance championship in Sweden, and coming in, you know, finishing P4, qualifying on pole at second qualifying. For me, he was really the biggest plus, or the standout performance of the weekend.
I think I can agree on that. What you did see though, and this was shown in the second race when he started on pole during the reverse grid, is that the racecraft, especially for someone who's new to all of this, isn't quite there yet. He was getting kind of bullied out of the way by drivers who had the experience. Then we got to race 3, he qualified on pole, and you saw that he went in with kind of a different mentality. He was like, I'm not going to get bullied out of the way anymore, I'm going to fight this time, and actually kept himself in the top 5 in that race. It was a really, really strong showing, and what that also shows is that the 1 lap pace is there for Linus. He just needs to work on that consistency, and I think he's definitely going to be a race winner then this season. For
sure he is, and like you said, he did all the rookie mistakes, but that's what this championship is for, and it was good we had 4 races, so we had a good chance to tick all these sort of rookie mistakes off and deliver in the last race. So that was quite enjoyable to watch, if I'm honest. And also we had a lot of new drivers, a lot of drivers coming from GT racing, GT4, GT3. Some of them had to adapt a little bit to front wheel drive.
It's different.
Yeah, exactly. It's different, especially with the brake balance, making sure you have the right feeling in the brakes going into the corners. And they adapt good. I mean, Benjamin Masatis, he came a weekend before, or 2 weekends before. He won a race at the Nordschleife in a GT3 car, and finished P7, I think, and P5 in one of the races, if I'm not remembering. I have my note, but I'm not going to look. I don't want to seem old. But also did a good job. And the Cross Pointners, the twins, also coming from GT4. They also improved over the weekend. Patricia Starizzade, really good job. She's on my plus list for the weekend as well.
Definitely.
In performance, fighting for podiums. She was just on the verge of podiums in the last races there, so that was also nice to see the development.
I think we're going to see a different Patricia at the Nurburgring. She has experience at that track.
Yes.
You as a racing driver, you know how much experience does for you.
Yeah. And the minuses, do you have any minuses from the weekend?
I mean, Lucas Stiefelhagen, that mistake is going to cost him in the championship. However, championship is long, and I think you're always going to have 1 or 2 bad races. This is always how it goes. You're not going to win every race, and how you win a championship is by staying consistent. So I think that's 1 race ticked off the list for him where he didn't perform quite the spec. Of course, that touch to the wall. My minuses, I expected maybe a little bit more from Graham Hofmans coming from last season, but of course he's still young. He has so much to develop.
Are you a little bit biased here? The Dutch connection?
Oh yeah, we also had someone winning for the Netherlands. But I mean, Graham is young, but I maybe just expected a little bit more from him coming from last season as well.
Yeah, I think he developed also over the weekend. Obviously, the first time for him doing a street circuit. He had a crash at the pre-season testing.
Yes.
So, and I know how that is. You have to start slowly and build your speed, and he was really fighting hard in the last race. I have 2 other pluses from the weekend. Philip Bartos.
Yes.
He ended up P8 in race 3, starting on pole in race 4, and was 4th over the finish line. So close to being on the podium. His best result ever, and that's really nice to see. He really deserved a good result.
Yes.
I know he's fighting really hard. He really wants to perform, and that's nice to see.
If you see Graham Hofmans and Philip Bartos together in the paddock, this is not a surprise. They seem to get along really well, and they did on the racetrack as well. They worked together, and they both went forward. And I think Graham showed what is possible when you work together. Talking about working together, Lucas Stiefelhagen, Kelvin de Groot, that first race, we have to talk about it. That was just another level of working together. They talked about it before the race. Victor Nielsen said, I need to try and overtake, but then he had that bad start, and that gave them the perfect opportunity to pull away by working together.
And they did. They pulled away. I think they had a mutual agreement not to attack in the beginning of the race, and in the last few laps, obviously fight for it, which they really did. Yes. I mean, ending up 0.03 from each other in race 1, which was extremely exciting. We were quite happy in the commentary booth, you and me.
Yes.
It was really exciting,
yes.
Exciting finish. So yeah, I mean, if they keep doing that, which can give you a little bit of qualifying, but especially in the races, having someone you know, that you compete against, but also that you help each other. So they're both quick, so it's also possible for them to do this. So yeah, that's something for the other drivers to become friends, find some friends in the championship. Don't give away too much, but but be friends. I had another positive I wanted to say, and it's Lawrence Ring, also coming with really very limited experience, racing the Mazdas in the Netherlands previously, and he qualified P7, if I remember correctly.
Yes, indeed.
In the first qualifying, also with very limited experience, and that was impressive, coming in and on just raw speed and talent doing that. Struggled a little bit in the races, but was very consistent in the end, so that was fun. We need to talk about Enzo though, Enzo Hallman.
Maybe another one of my minuses if you look at how he performed last season compared to this season, but he himself also wasn't happy with how it went. I think he was missing something. He was missing a feeling in the car, and it was a tough weekend for him. He expected more from himself. Was very harsh on himself as well with that. But you have to be in this business. You have to perform every time. I think he's fourth still though in the championship because he performed very consistently. But he's dropped a lot of points already. So yeah, I think that he's going to look for an improvement at the Nurburgring.
I think we share the feeling. I mean, he did very well last year at Nurburgring, and he just got caught up in these messy situations. He was almost turned around, or Alexander Gustafsson was almost turned around, and he bounced into Enzo, and they lost position. He had to fight back, so it felt like he had an uphill battle the whole weekend. He had 2 podiums. He really deserved them. But he was fighting hard with Linus.
They were not easy podiums at all.
No. So he did a good job, but I expected him to have at least a victory, if I'm honest. So did I. But I think he will be more motivated now to beat the other guys. And you always know how it is. If you won the races, you're leading the championship, you also need to be cautious. And Enzo is now coming from the back, so I'm pretty sure he will push.
He's going to win some races. He has the speed, Fredrik. He's shown that last season as well. I think it's a matter of time until he wins a race. Sure. He's constantly up there. If something happens or whatever, he has the pace. Let's put it like that.
Do you want to know something about the workshop, or ask me? Go crazy. It's a warehouse tour, warehouse walk.
A warehouse walk. Well, there's a mannequin over there. I talked to him earlier on. Proudest moment is that he was able to wear a NXT Gen Cup hat. Trained 17 years, he said, for that six-pack. I still don't have one, Fredrik. No, I mean, it's been...
He's naked, so maybe we shouldn't show him on TV.
It's been amazing. There's a plan behind you, Marcus. I think this is a good point to end it off, though, Fredrik. It's amazing to be here. I can't wait until we go to the Nurburgring. I think last season showed what we're capable of there. You don't want to miss it, that's for sure. Anything you want to add?
I mean, we're looking forward, just like you say. We've still got some work to do with all the cars and making sure they are ready to go, but that's what we do, so that's the easy part. We're looking forward. I mean, Norris Ring, we had 110,000 visitors over the 3 days, which is a good platform for us, our partners and our drivers to be at. And Nurburgring obviously also one of the highlight races of the year for DTM and for us. So really looking forward and hoping for some new winners. That's always exciting. And let's see what happens.
Well, thank you very much, Fredrik, for inviting me to the warehouse. Thank you very much for watching. It's a long wait, I know, until the Nurburgring, but it's going to be here soon. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you at the racetrack. Goodbye.